Yeah, what in the
be
world
out
does the
there.
Bible and elder law have to do with one
Yes.
another? Well, I will start with one of my favorite stories, which relates to Isaac. And of course, Isaac, he was married. He had his wife Rebecca, and then he had his two boys. His oldest boy, Esau, and Esau, he was a tough guy. He was a man's man, big kid, hairy kid, hunter. The kind of kid that a father would be proud of. And of course, he was the oldest boy, and that certainly held a particular position, especially in the Jewish tradition of the time. And then he had his other boy, Jacob, and he's a little soft. He's a small kid, more of an intellectual, maybe a little more touchy feely. The kind of kid that a mom's going to warm up to a whole lot. A mom like in this case Rebecca. And so we've got Isaac, we've got Rebecca, we got their two kids. And as we talked about, the Jewish tradition at the time was that at some point in time, Isaac, they didn't have a lot of stuff back then. They had goats, they had a farm, they had some personal possessions, but the idea was is that the patriarch of the family, in this case Isaac, at some point, the Jewish tradition was he would bestow his blessing, which essentially equated to a double portion of the inheritance. And he would bestow that on his oldest son, Esau. That was, Lisa, that was the Jewish tradition. That's what people did. That's what his plan was. Everybody knew his plan.
That's right.
This was not a secret. Everybody knew what was going on. And yet, did Isaac do anything?
Right. I think this is a story where for years and years, I think, Isaac just sort of let things ride.
That's right.
He has his oldest son who's healthy and virulent and, always out in the field doing his thing. And he has Jacob who's maybe more around the home place there. And everybody knew. But Isaac said, well, everybody knows. I don't really have to do anything.
Yeah, so, and maybe you can relate to some of that. Maybe you've put off doing some of your own planning for the future. You know what you want. You know how you want it done. You just haven't done anything.
Yeah, you haven't taken those formal steps to take care of your estate planning. So, and John, so in this story, we finally get to a point where Isaac is ready to take those formal steps to actually bestow that blessing, bestow the inheritance on Esau. And but at this point, Isaac is very aged, elderly, whatever you want to call it. He can't see very well. He doesn't hear very well. I would say probably at this point we would call Isaac, I'm guessing, homebound. So Isaac figures, well, I'm aged. I need to go ahead and formalize my blessing and my inheritance. And so he asked that, Esau, make my favorite meal. Go out hunting, bring me the stew that I love, and I'm going to bestow my blessing. And it didn't quite work out that way.
Yeah, no. As soon as he says that to Esau, Esau takes off running. He's going to go follow Dad's wishes. But of course, Rebecca, she had her ear to the door. She hears all of this, and she looks over at her favorite boy, Jacob. And she says, hey, look now, you need to get in there and pretend like you're your brother. Because if you don't go in there and pretend like you're Esau, then you're going to get the short end of this deal. And your dad, Isaac's going to bestow his blessing on Esau, and you're going to miss out. And so you need to get in there. And you know what? Your dad is so frail and vulnerable. He still has his mind, but he's so frail and vulnerable, we're going to be able to trick him. And Jacob looks at his mom. He's not a dumb kid. He says, Mom, there's no way my little skinny body is going to be able to pretend like I'm that big hairy brother of mine, Esau. And she says, no, I've already got that planned out. Got it all figured out. What we're going to do is we're going to wrap you up in animal fur, and then we're going to send you in there. And of course, Lisa, he gets wrapped up in animal fur. He goes in there, pretends like he's Esau. And Isaac, he's so frail and vulnerable because of his eyesight and hearing and bedridden. all he can really do is reach out and feel that fur, and of course thinks he's talking to the Esau, and in fact bestows his blessing on Jacob.
Right. And so this is a situation where someone waited so long to formalize their arrangements that it ended up not going the way that individual wanted it to go. Now, you know, John, from a theological standpoint, we all know that obviously the blessing to Jacob was apparently part of, you know, the grand biblical plan. But it wasn't Isaac's plan.
It wasn't Isaac's plan. And so, yeah, taking it aside from the theological debate
Right.
there, but you know, the thing is that we have seen, in doing this for 15 or 20 years each, we have seen so many times where what a person wanted, what they stated, what they told everybody they wanted, did not happen. And the reason it didn't happen is because they failed to do anything to make it happen. They, like Isaac, just let it ride.
Right.
Maybe they had told people, but they had never done anything. And then at some point, you know, because so often people forget about this point before death.
Right.
They know what they want at death, or they know how they want when they're healthy and can take care of themselves. But this middle ground, this frail and vulnerable position, that's where things can go bad, and you'd have to be able to protect yourself from others and from yourself, because we've just seen so many things go wrong, and again, that's been going on for a long time.
Since Genesis.
Since Genesis, that's right.